Good afternoon. It's great to be here. I'd like to thank Shenggen Fund for the opportunity to jointly organize this seminar. My compliments to my colleagues in this panel, my compliments to all of you and to all of you listening to us through social media. What I'm going to do is to tell you briefly about two big transformations that happen in Brazil. One that already happened and another one which is already happening right now. Very briefly about the first big transformation that happened in our agriculture. As you certainly know, most of our territory is in the tropical belt of the world. It brings quite a lot of challenges to Brazil. Our soils are very poor. Farming in a tropical country like Brazil is not easy. The acidic soils are very concentrated in this part of the tropical belt. So that was a huge challenge for us. But Brazil was able in this first transformation to develop a model of agriculture heavily based in science, a lot of investment in science and knowledge, in capacity building. And if I can summarize in a nutshell what Brazil was able to do to overcome the big challenges that we had in the 70s, in the 80s, we have here in this slide. We've been able to transform our poor and acidic soils in fertile land. We've been able to tropicalize crops and animal production systems, and Brazil was able to produce also a platform of sustainable practices which is not matched by any other country around the world. Just to show you the transformation, this is a city called Sinop when it was built in 1974, and this is the city of Sinop in 2015. The transformation of the interior of Brazil because of technology, because of this big transformation in agricultural production in our country was just amazing. As you've seen in Nature, in The Economist, in many other journals around the world. Well, this was the first big revolution in Brazil. We became a food secure country. Beyond that, we became capable of providing food to many countries around the world. But we have other challenges. We have the challenge of sustainability. We have the Sustainable Development Goals. We have a changing expectation of society. Society is changing very fast. The demographic changes, the climate change, technology advancing in a very fast pace. All this brings us a lot of challenges. And Brazil is responding. We think that we are initiating in Brazil what I call a second big revolution to bring sustainability or to move our agriculture towards sustainability. There are two public policies in Brazil which are very powerful, which are being put in place right now, our forestry code and our low carbon agricultural plan, which are initiating a second big revolution for agricultural production in Brazil. We have today control of all land that is protected in Brazil. I'll zip through very quickly here to show you the advances of the forestry code in Brazil. Today, we have control of the protected land within private farms. Brazil has this law, the forestry code, that makes it mandatory for farms to conserve biodiversity, to protect the water sources. This is a very powerful public law, which is helping us to move our agriculture towards a level of sustainability that we still didn't have. Because of that, Brazil has 66.3% of its territory protected. We use only, this is equivalent to 48 countries in Europe, so Brazil is doing its homework in terms of protecting land, protecting biodiversity, protecting its water sources. Only 30% of Brazil is farmed today. 66.3% of our territory is protected, and we want to keep it that way. So this is part of our second big revolution, the revolution of sustainability. When you compare to countries like US or other countries around the world, so we think that Brazil is in good shape in this regard. The low carbon agriculture is another important mark of Brazil. We are disseminating technologies like the minimum or no-till system, nitrogen fixation. Only this technology here helps Brazil save $13 billion every year and avoid the emission of 62 million tons of CO2 equivalent by using nitrogen fixation in soybeans. So this is a technology that is helping our crops to move faster towards sustainability. The recovery, all the technologies that Embrapa is developing and disseminating for recovery of degraded pastures, degraded land. We have now the second and third crops becoming more and more common in Brazil. So we are in many parts of the country farming 360 days a year. So the intensification of land use is a reality. This is a way for us to gain efficiency and reduce pressure over the protected land, the protected environment, over our biodiversity. Sustainable intensification is something that came to stay. This slide, it's a bit complex, but if you look there, in many parts of Brazil, we can farm just like this. Plant soybeans in November, December. In February, we harvest soybeans and plant corn together with a grass. When you harvest corn in June, you already have a pasture ready to be grazed, and then you have a third crop of beef. And then you come with soybean again. This is 360 days agriculture, the intensification of land use. And now we are bringing forestry into this system. Forestry is a powerful way for us to incorporate carbon and to offset the emissions, especially the emissions coming from cattle. The emissions in cattle is a big problem. So what we are doing is combining crop, livestock, and forestry as a way to offset the emissions coming, especially for cattle. So this system is helping us to build different concepts of agricultural production in Brazil, not only beef, but also crops. We can play, and Embrapa is developing metrics to show how efficient this system is. For instance, to bring animal comfort. You imagine the animals under the trees in a tropical country, so you can eventually certify the products from these systems as products that take into account animal comfort, not only carbon. And this kind of system is showing us the feasibility to certify the beef produced under such systems, integrating crop, livestock, forestry as a carbon neutral beef. The private sector in Brazil is quickly incorporating this concept. We think that this is the future, not only to produce carbon neutral beef, but eventually carbon neutral milk or carbon neutral fish and other things by doing an intensified agriculture in an intensified way in a manner that we can handle well the carbon cycle in favor of a more sustainable agriculture. By doing this, Brazil is seeking new and creative ways to dialogue with what we think is the most powerful agenda for development in the world, the SDG agenda. Brazil is also seeking ways to take full advantage of the multifunctional nature of agriculture, not only producing feed and fiber. Brazil is a huge producer of sustainable energy coming from agriculture, but we are looking, Embrapa is looking also in this agenda to build the gap among food, nutrition, and health, and to bring value to organic, to local, to diverse, to sell, to safe, to fresh food. We know emerging a new expectation from consumers, from urban society. So there are plenty of opportunities for us, for tropical agriculture, to take advantage of these trends. The environmental services and animal welfare. This is a good way for us to certify our products in the future with a distinct value. An agriculture that is looking into the agenda of society, the SDG agenda, and trying to respond to it. The biomass, the biomaterials, the green chemistry. In the tropics, it's fantastic, our capacity to produce biomass with high efficiency, in high value, in high quantities, and with good logistics. And this last one I really love. to connect food, culture, tradition, gastronomy, as society becomes more urban, richer, older. People want new sensations with food, new flavors, new aromas, so plenty of opportunities for us to do a very diversified production system to attend or to respond to these needs of society. So basically what we are looking for in this second big revolution in tropical agriculture coming from Brazil, but we think it will impact all countries in the tropical belt of the world, is to help our farmers, to help our agriculture to dialogue with the agenda of society. Again, a society that is requiring more, that has lots of expectations in relation to sustainability, new kinds of foods, more diversity, safety, animal welfare, and all the issues that you know very well. We think in Brazil that if we move towards this concept, we will be in a good shape in 2030, which is the horizon for the UN 2030 agenda, and we will be in a good shape to face the huge challenges ahead in the horizon of 2050. So that's the way we are moving. In our favor, there is technology. It's amazing how technology, we have a new toolbox with all the fantastic tools of transformation technology, of automation, entrepreneurship. There is a new way to innovate, young entrepreneurs getting more and more interested in the world of food and agriculture. So we have many challenges, but we have technology, we have good institutions, we have good partnerships, such as the partnership of Embrapa with IFPRI, with USDA and its agencies. So that's the way we are planning to move into the future. That will be a future full of challenges, but also full of opportunities. Thank you so much for your attention.